Hi, Claudio.
Hi, Francesco.
Ciao.
Okay.
I miss Cagliari.
How are you?
I love it.
Hi.
Ciao.
To meet you.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Nice to
too.
meet you.
Finalmente ci conosciamo almeno in persona via telematica.
Esatto. A distanza, sì.
Horacio, cuando digas, no sé, podemos partir, esperamos. ¿Está Marta Guimaraes? ¿Va a presentar también ella? No.
No, el único que falta es Logan.
Ah, que tenía problemas con la
Logan
cámara.
no va a estar porque está mal o qué. Viene
No,
igual.
No,
tenía
si
problema con la
entró
cámara.
recién.
Ah, bien.
Entró y salió.
Ah,
Estoy preguntando acá a ver qué pasa con él. No, Logan está mejor. Está bastante mejor.
qué susto.
Logan has a preliminary heart attack
¿En
last week.
serio? ¿En serio?
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh,
I heard
But he's
about.
better.
I heard,
Yeah,
but is he okay?
Yeah, is he
Yes,
okay?
it's okay now. Yeah.
gosh.
Very
Wow.
good. But has to.
They
Change
clean
life.
an artery. The doctors clean artery that was
Block it.
sucia, tapada, blocked. Yeah, was
Block
blocked.
it.
Oh,
Hey, yeah,
Okay.
we started the transmission. Horacio, okay.
Yes, I'm going to do a presentation and then you have your order and your order of presentation, or
We will follow the order of the website. We will start
Okay.
Logan and we will start.
okay.
Then Marco and Francesco, and the last will be Anna.
okay, good. Cuando digas, Humberto.
Go ahead, Horacio. Thank you very much.
Okay, hello, good morning. We are having now good morning here in the south cone of America, and a good afternoon in Italy. We are having now the pre-event, the future of modern past, diagnosis of health architecture, and we have today 5 lecturers, so 5 speakers. The first one is Logan Layton. He's a member of Docomomo Chile. The second is Claudio Galeno Ibaceta. He's the head of the Master of Arid Zones from the Catholic University of the North of Chile and Secretary of Docomomo Chile. We have also Marco Moro from the Universidad di Cagliari and Harvard University Prayer, and Pier Francesco Cherchi della Università degli Studi di Cagliari, and also Ana Amora from the ProArch program, the Postgraduação in Arquitectura program from the University of Rio de Janeiro, Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, a member of Docomomo Brazil. Thank you so much, the 5, for being here, and let's start with the session. I hope will be very interesting for all of us, because it's an issue which it has a very, what can I say, a huge panorama of difficulties to preserve the buildings and the constructions for health made during the 20th century. So thank you so much. Go ahead.
Sorry. Hello, everybody. We will start with Logan. We prepare a presentation about the Coquimbo Hospital. Logan will start. Please, Logan, I will project
Thank you, Claudio.
the
A few seconds to get the link.
a minute.
Sorry, my computer didn't work very well and had to reboot it.
Is okay? Are you seeing our
Yes.
PowerPoint?
Yes, I
Thank you.
see, but
Yes.
I can read still. Give me a few seconds. Okay, now I can. Okay, come on. Next one first, please. Okay, this story about the Coquimbo's hospital is part of it's on a specifics and still preliminary fragment of a larger research project, both quality and quantitatively in both ways. This is one of the 400 pieces of architecture identified with modern roots in Coquimbo and La Serena between 1926 and 1976. It's titled Anonymous Modernity in Chile. Furthermore, it's one of the 32 selected works that will be part of the 2 books to be published this 2004. Now we are seeing the timeline where they're inserted this piece of work. Go on, Claudia. Next one, please. So all these works are part of this. Just the hospital is just this piece of all these kind of work we have. So I have to give the thanks and the sponsor to Tocomamo Chile, la Universidad San Sebastián, sede Concepción, the Fuels Program, 2030 ULS, el programa de investigación de la subdirección académica y el programa académico de la Escuela de Arquitectura de la Universidad Católica, el Colegio de Arquitectos de Chile. Primarily, the funding is about the Subculture Secretary about Chile and part of the True Architecture Research line, and also the book found belonging. So I express my gratitude to all of them, the committed scientists, the co-author, and all the people who are supported this program. Thank you. Go on, Claudia.
In Chile, the development of modern architecture in the cities has been linked to earthquakes. The Chilean architect Jaime Bellalta, in an article he wrote for the journal Architectural Design in 1964, said that earthquakes were one of the main problems that Chilean architects had to face. The 3 most shocking events had been in 1906, in 1939, and 1960, destroying extensive area of the territory. This particular condition forced it to design with a structural rigor, which over time defined an architectural identity. Some years later, the architectural historian Ramón Alfonso Méndez, in an article he wrote for the Spanish journal Hogar y Arquitectura in 1970, declared that from a technical point of view, the earthquakes had conceived a prudent people and had forced them to take special precautions in the structuring of their architecture. Then architect Oscar Barahona Álvarez, in another article about Chilean architecture published in the Spanish journal Nueva Forma in 1972, indicated that earthquakes characterized the constructions. Until that date, several high-intensity events had devastated various areas of Chile, For example, Valparaíso in 1906, Chillán in 1939, Concepción and Valdivia in 1960, La Ligua in 1965, Tocopilla in 1967, and Illapel and La Ligua in 1971. The expertise developed in facing these aggressive events had resulted in light constructions with a limited life or in very heavy architectures, which resulted in high cost in the foundations and structures. As a summary, in the 80s, architects Humberto Elias and Manuel Moreno stated that the Chillán earthquake of 1939 had been one of the main variables that had materialized modern architecture, which had been preceded by another determining incident, the Talca earthquake of 1928. Finally, we will highlight that what the architect Max Aguirre stated, who said that earthquakes had been drivers of modernity. Juan González Araya's book about the history of the San Pablo Hospital in Coquimbo provides valuable information on the chronology of events that lead to the new building that will be built next to the Pan American Highway in the early 70s, and about his fateful future. On September 27 of 1967, an earthquake destroyed Coquimbo, severely damaging the old San Pablo Hospital. At that time, it was suggested that the new hospital should be built in Peñuelas, a strategic location that will allow it to serve both cities, Coquimbo and La Serena. Despite the impact of 1967 earthquake, in April of 1970, the Minister of Health, Patricio Silva, confirmed that at the end of that month, they will call for a public tender for the construction of a new hospital, and that the works will begin in July. The new establishment will be built on land donated by the municipality of Coquimbo in the San Juan neighborhood, a sector to the southeast that was just beginning to be urbanized. On September 4 of 1970, a model of the hospital, that's the model, but a model of the hospital was displayed in the window of the El Ferrocarril store in Coquimbo to disseminate the new project, and towards the end of that year, the founding stone of the new establishment was laid. Although the Sociedad Constructora de Establecimientos Hospitalarios, or Hospital Facilities Construction Society, had already started construction in San Juan neighborhood at the end of January 1971. The press announced that a decision had been made to change the hospital location to a plot of land located at the intersection of Videla Avenue and the Pan American Highway. The decision to change the location involved the Urban Improvement Corporation, or CORMU, which stated that the change was necessary because the land in San Juan was isolated, while in the new site, it will be more integrated and serve a more comprehensive medical, technical, and urbanistic purpose. However, on the land in San Juan neighborhood, a urban general clinic or health center was built, which was inaugurated in June 1972. The geomorphology of the chosen hospital site was an extensive plain. The isthmus of Coquimbo Peninsula. Is no coincidence that the area is known as El Llano. It is relatively flat urban space, but elevated like a low plateau, opening opening especially towards the west and east to the base of La Herradura and Coquimbo. It's characterized by a pronounced horizontality. In the course of the early stage of construction, the Coquimbo area was affected by a new earthquake on July 8, 1971, with its epicenter located between Illapel and La Ligua. Although this event did not impact the newly initiated construction works, it did affect a number of other facilities in different cities, which led to a plan for repairs, replacements, and the construction of healthcare facilities carried out by the Hospital Facility Construction Society. In the case of the province of Coquimbo, the replacements included the hospitals in Combarbalá and Illapel. The new hospital was built in two stages. On October 13, 1972, the northern volume, known as the Consultorio Adosado or Attached Health Center, was inaugurated, while the hospitalization tower was completed entirely by the end of 1975, with the transfer of the service from the old hospital commencing at the beginning of 1976. While the tower was being prepared on March 13, 1975, a new seismic event occurred. As indicated by Urrutia and Lanza, the epicenter was in the sea in front of the port of Coquimbo, and its intensity was of a magnitude of 7. There were 2 fatalities, 30 injured, and significant damage to public and private buildings. As Gonzalo Araya notes, at that time, the medical service was being relocated from the emergency area on the first floor of the attached health center to the 3rd floor of the tower. However, the earthquake did not bring significant problems to the facilities which had just been completed. Finally, the hospitalization tower volume and its base volume extending to the south were inaugurated in March 26th of the same year. The press said, the most modern hospital in Chile. It exhibits impressive modern architectural lines and an excellent location. Logan, do you follow? Logan?
Sorry.
We-
So, a first diagnostic of the monolith, heavy and repetitive image of the site plans of the Coquimbo hospitals will show that this is maybe a late modernity, a work possibly renegated to monotonous or even conservatory, because it cross section 2 regular quadrate plates, 1 floor, clear and several limits, a central rectangle of 4 floor levels that join them. But had to mention before that has been mentioned before, the earthquakes forces the structure rigorously that then define a national architectural identity, forces to Chilean architect to take special precaution in structuring his building. This is not only a building or a hospital complex, it is part of a series, the logic or a family of health building is strongly promoted at the beginning of government Presidente Salvador Allende. The Coquimbo Hospital, unlike the others, such as Ochagavía Hospital, is a symbol of the social government of that time. More than that, even, it was completed at a different the mentioned before. This is of one of the great relevance, not only was that, but also because his 20,000 meters square built in the most advanced constructed and anti-seismic and health care technology available located in a small city of 50,000 inhabitants and practically irrelevant for Chile of 1970, with only 9 million people. The establishment occupied, next one, please. Next one. This next one, thank you. The establishment occupied a complete block, super block, like 100 meters and 240 meters in the long form. It's the result of across several new streets that was projected only for this project. It was the result of a decision, a presidential decision to move this health complex from the east side of the Pan American Highway to the west side, so in a position to a better view for all passengers and locate people to locate the zone. This encounter is not only something to get better, had a better position in the city. It has to be a better position to view and have a better position in a political way. And so this is a statement for this government, and that's what's perceived. A set of is constructed by a set of 3 concatenated volumes, 2 slabs and 1 tower, both located in the ground in the isolation. Each plate recovered the logic of the mouth building by means of a grid of pillars and beams that extend over the ground, adding floors and central volume to tower, which also a true, less obviously maintain the grid and the pillar and beams. The other change was made by President Allende was that the building in the first time it had 4 floors in the tower, how we see in this original plan, different to the next one. You can pass the next one. Now we see the final version have five floors in the tower, and also change the facades in the east side. Now it's more opened than the first version. The next one, please. Now we can see the installation plans. The next one. So in May of 1980, the magazine Ciudad y Arquitectura published an article about the hospital, and through the report some errors. The sense of the north, a presentation of a first version of the project, the 4 building level, so shall not mention the mechanical floor in the second tower, and also generator organization complex use very is useless, or maybe it's difficult to understand. The magazine report also explained in the term on the slab tower too, but we have to see another thing that they don't mention. It's another change that the team of architects made it in this typology or this family of building. So we can see here that the building is, or the tower precisely, is made by for this pillar that is retracted about the facade. So we have this this volume, this how we can say, this is vertical volumes, so to get appear in the facade. So have a small window, a vertical window to in between the horizontal slice. So, but that's not just a plastic solution. It's not a something we can talk about just because they want it or because they can do it. This is a unique and a fair response that we can see in the plant here, where it's one of the first, or maybe the first complex hospital that it had beds with light, natural light. So we can see here the beds of the bedrooms for the clinic of the hospitalization of the people, and this little decision make this volume encounter in the large of the horizontal way of the tower, in difference to the vertical shaft and beds. So this is not how I say, a plastic solution. Is a very rational, very efficient, and actually a unique solution, maybe the first solution of this kind, maybe actually at least in Chile. Next one, please. So this encounter, this movement of the one side of the highway to another one, it produced an encounter of a different street, and the encounter and this encounter. So this encounter is very special because it becomes the main entrance to the Coquimbo city. So the Avenida Nolasco Videla. So between the Nolasco Videla, it it forms a space between the street is a bifurcation, and this bifurcation make another street, Dr. Mucarcel, and to the distance we cannot perceive really the street between the block of the hospital and the small park. The park we can see in the left hand of the screen, and the little hill where is the hospital is in the right hand. Also, it's a little difficult to define limits between the park and the small hill with tree and natural species between the two spaces. So it's not a strategic political situation, it's only an urban solution to a difficult place and a difficult geography. Next one, please. Well, we can see the publication of Ciudad y Arquitectura. So we can see here, it's not the project completed, published. We can see the tower. We can see what they call the consultorio adosado, or maybe a familiar system occupation of the health is, to something more to provide services, daily service like X-ray, like dentist, maternity, milk, and stuff like that. It's not for to be in an operation or in a critical situation and a big accident or stuff like a chronic disease. It's a daily way. So this first plaque. But what we can see here is the graphic. What they try to show us, the project is very difficult to understand. It's not clear because, of course, the scale is not maybe the best. but if we can say, we can leave that, and we can see maybe in another way this project, maybe we can see another stuff too, another structure, another pattern, another order. The next one, please, Claudia. So, give me a second, please. Okay, this is again the establishment, the replacement floor. The next one, please. And we can see in here a different kind of yards. All the spaces that are not marked is different yards. The different color also is the kind of different program, and also the height of the plaques. We see here the 2 plaques, and the middle one is the tower. And the next one, please. But in this plant, in this structure plant, we can see one decision and one element, a pillar, a beam, and one distance. And only with that, we can structure a completely different modern ways to construct a different, complex geography and a different moment, places, even to moments to build this building. We can see different yards. This is urgency, that we can see the open up, or we can see the access. We can see one for the chapel, another one for the community, the other one is for the kindergarten, another one for the casino. It's not a game casino, I mean it's like a restaurant or a coffee. Now that we can see that it's very structured, very hard, very very severe, maybe we can see again in a different way in the next slides, please. So this is the kind of relationship where the more intensive red color is what is not allowed to get in, is the more private areas. The clearest red one, or maybe is the area to circulation, and the middle red, they are the yard that are completely opened not just to the sky, opened to the people, opened to without access control. So the hospital is not just a succession of 3 different political and mandatory presidential moments. Frey made it the law that financial the hospital. Allende moved it and changed it and really directed the project. It was one of the most important project for his government. But just only inaugurated the first part, what is the consultory, and the third part, the tower, and the second flag is inaugurated in 1966 for Pinochet. So it's not just the succession of 3 different governments, 3 different countries, 3 different presidents, 3 different way to to management a country, a polity or a political, is also a succession, a different yards and a continuous ground to connect the different kind of ways to help to the people, like a synonyms of a good architecture needs, or can be a good need, good spaces, good areas, good air, also good yards, like a synonyms. That's it.
Was it?
That is, wow.
Well, that's our presentation. I have some more, but I prefer to continue with Marco and Francesco for the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Andiamo a avviare. You see, it's clear.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Okay. Last time. Thank you. First, at the beginning, we want to thank you for this invitation. We are very happy to have this opportunity of contribution to this initiative of Docomomo and this theme about healthcare architecture. We are a professor of the University of Cagliari in Italy. Our department have been promoting research and teaching activities around the theme of recovery and conservation of modern architectural heritage. So we are involved in this activity as professor, but also we have the opportunity to be involved in the transformation of our cities with contribution on specific sites and buildings. So today we're going to present you two case studies that are very much related to the theme of today. First, Marco, and then I will.
Thank you.
Take off.
So in this sense, the work of our colleagues, Paolo Sangiusto and Giambattista Cocco, is a valuable reference, especially on the historical reconstruction of events relating to the Dux colony. At the same time, the topic of this event resonates with some recent studies of our group in general and of Professor Kerki in particular in the field of hospital architecture as a perfect example of a typological shift. Our interest in the former Colonia Dux, designed in the mid-30s and portrayed in this beautiful photograph taken by our friend and colleague Claudio Galeno, is not limited to the historical reconsideration of this building. In fact, we believe that the value of this work is embodied in its typological experimentation, stimulated by the profound relationship with the natural and urban landscape of the city of Cagliari. This is not only the kind of relationship with its closest environment that you see in this picture, but a wider kind of relationship with the city of Cagliari, built on the eternal tension between its historic center and the Mediterranean Sea. Like all the port cities of the Middle Age, Cagliari urban form was deeply influenced by the landing from the sea. The disposition of the medieval towers followed precise alignments that the sailors could recognize from the sea. And by following these alignments, they found a safe way to approach the port. In the following centuries, outside the medieval walls, the great transformation of the modern city began through its monumental civic architectures. In a sense, these great neoclassical buildings complexes replaced the medieval towers as the new reference point of the modern society under construction. But above all, they became new urban pieces within the city fabric. This is, for example, the civic hospital built in the mid-19th century. And this is the Colonia Dux, built in the mid-30s, then transformed into a public hospital. So we'd like to present these two episodes in conversation with each other for two reasons. In general, they are both emblematic in the design and evolution of the modern typology that contain the machine hospital. In particular, they are emblematic cases in the local context for the urban transformation of the city of Cagliari during its modern and contemporary history, with both the civic hospital and Colonia Dux still waiting for their adaptive reuse. Here you see the two hospitals are located in two different areas of the city, just a few kilometers apart, but separated by the large environmental system of ponds, a former salt industry. So we prepared this presentation in reverse chronological order, starting from the former Colonia Dux that stands out in the poster of this event. As mentioned above, this project from the mid-30s was built on the beach, literally, and projected towards the Mediterranean Sea. However, even if this location was due by functional reasons, this close relationship with the natural landscape was clearly embodied in the idea of a modern urban space. First of all, a few words about Ubaldo Badas, since Colonia Dux is among the first mature works of his career. Actually, he never finished his studies in architecture, and he never worked as a registered architect. So he begins his professional career as a draftsman in the technical office of the municipality of Cagliari from 1929 to 1939. Despite this, eminent figures such as Edoardo Persico and Adalberto Libera recognize his abilities and original interpretation of Italian rationalism. It is a well-known fact that Italian modernism was a fragmented current to which is added a political turmoil during the fascist regime. Initially, the regime was attracted by the modernizing impulse of rationalist architecture, before fascism embraced the Piacentinian conservative monumental modern style. In this scenario, Badas' work was perfectly in line with that of other Italian rationalist architects and with the typological experimentation of those years. One of the most popular building type in the period was the vacation colony or heliotherapy colony. These building typologies were at the center of the political agenda with the aim of combining sun therapy and disciplined education of children in one single environment, far from the city and immersed into the nature. Here is the Colonia Helioterapica of Legnano, one of the first masterpieces designed by BBPR. Form follows function, obviously, but some functional components admit compositional experimentation. In this case, the solarium was a wonderful two-story loggia, disconnected from the main building, an independent volume, but integrated into the rationalist compositional logic. This is an interesting detail if compared with Ubaldo Badas' Colonia Dux to understand his original approach. In fact, he combined all the functions in one single piece of architecture. He was clearly in search of a perfect balance between rationalist abstraction and plastic organicism. According to our colleague and leading expert on this building, Paolo Sangiust, this project seemed to look beyond the Alps, without the mediation of Italian architectural culture, which only adopts the sculptural expressiveness of concrete in the mid-late 50s. This emerged from the sequence of 5 project variations, all sharing the same plan, a multi-level curvilinear volume combined with a smaller entrance volume. The most substantial changes are about orientation. In the first version, the convexity is directed toward the sea, while in the second, and also in the built version, the curve concavity is directed toward the sea. Another big change concerns the structural solution. The first project showed a traditional load-bearing structure. In later solution, a mixed structure with a concrete skeleton. The volume is suspended above a sequence of robust, rounded pillars that liberate the view towards the sea. The variegated register of windows is a remarkable element of rationalist architecture. Finally, among the distinctive elements of this typology, we notice the large ramps. Indeed, circulation and movement between inside and outside was a disciplinary ritual controlled by architecture itself. This is the skeleton, almost finished, and this is the form in which the building will be delivered to the Anti-Tuberculosis Consortium in 1945. On the rooftop, you can see the addition of a wonderful pergola for sound bathing, integrated into the building to fragment its volumetric mass. In the end, the Colonial Dukes design by Badas is an unfinished work, not only a typological shift stimulated by functional distribution, but the attempt to build an artificial landscape in dialogue with a natural one. Not only the material expressiveness of an isolated building, but a modern architecture which incorporates intermediate spaces, free ground floor and roof terrace, to promote an alternative project of the city. Starting from the 1945, the building was completed to be used in the emergency situation of the second post-war period. Simultaneously, both the external closure and new internal distribution were built for the uses of a new hospital, Ospedale Marino, which was definitely closed in 1982 and abandoned to its fate as a modernist ruin with its internal skeleton as the only original element.
As we said at the beginning of this presentation, this episode was preceded by a remarkable example of a machine hospital. The neoclassical San Giovanni di Dio hospital was built outside the medieval city. This building is emblematic in the design evolution of the modern typology. In particular, it is an outstanding case in the local context for the urban transformation of the city of Cagliari during its modern and contemporary history, and as the Colonial Dukes is still waiting for its adaptive reuse. This was a picture of the building in 1870. The building was designed in 1842 by Gaetano Cima, the principal Sardinian architect of the post-Enlightenment period, also author of the first town plan in 1858. You can see in this image the strict relationship between the old part of the city and the new type of civic building just outside, just in front. In this evolution and growth sketches, we can see the city, the evolution of the mid-19th century of Cagliari, which, like most European cities, was characterized by demolition of large parts of monumental defensive walls, and also saw the construction of few major buildings and this marked a radical change. You can see in this, starting from 1832, the building in different phases of the hospital, which has this singular and unique shape of half of a flower, we could say. In this aerial view from today, the city and the old building are basically facing, but lacking of integration and relationship. As many other large public buildings of the bourgeois city, they were generally conceived separated from the host context. And the San Giovanni di Hospital needs to be integrated with the city on a functional, but also on a symbolic level, we think. So we have been working on this thematic in the last few years in the research and design studio that we call Città Ospitale, hospitable city. This is a research and teaching experience focused on underused civic buildings like hospitals, prisons, courts, markets of the 19th century bourgeois city. Hospital city is not just intended in a way of adapting old buildings for new purposes, but also we think is an opportunity to develop new strategies that might link the city and its citizens to these abandoned or underused spaces dedicated to health, well-being, and improved society. These studies were also published on Domus a few years ago about this on these buildings, and we are now presenting in a few slides also a design strategy of reuse that we have developed with students in the design studio. The first part of the study was dedicated to historical analysis and to the construction phases, and we tried to understand the reason of this singular shape, considering that Gaetano Cima has started the design of this building after the 1772 in the 1842, and 1772 was a particular date because it was the date of the fire of the Hôtel in Paris. The tragic destruction of all the Parisian hospitals started a very intense confrontation among architects and scientists, all called to study a precise prototype for a modern and rational hospital. So we think that Gaetano Cima was very much influenced by these studies, and we can see a few typological examples especially of radial types and of barracks types. The debate was opposing spatial organization model, central planning, and parallel roads. So the single design with Cima that is interesting because it is an hybrid solution that solves the contradiction of these two models and recompose the fracture, form, and functions in a unitary response compliant of the requirements of the hospital organization and also responding to neoclassical style ideals of universality. So there was the original design on 1842, and is a peculiar answer to this combination of types. Is a combination of the palazzo type and also of the radial scheme, and also is a remarkable example of separation of words, of the complex in distinct words. So the result is radial implant reconceived as really as a modern machine aguerrir, like using Michel Foucault words. This is our sketch of axonometric view in the actual urban environment. The building, as you can see, like most hospitals, has a character of closeness and is separated from the city for technical reasons and security reasons. So we have worked on this aspect, developing a strategy that tries to overturn this point of view and considers these types as integral part of the city, open and in continuity with surroundings. So we tested our strategy was based on two actions. The first action is opening the building to the city, creating new physical connection, entrance, and paths in peculiar parts. And the second strategy, the second action was strictly related to the first one, is about liberating the ground floor. Imagine it as a permeable and welcoming piece of city, the ground floor open and dedicated to new public uses. Freedom and movement characterize the use of this piece of walkable city. With students, we concentrated just on a fragment of this building, the yellow part you can see, and we asked the students to apply different schemes, as you can see in the slides, which were kind of a prefiguration of new ideas of space. Was the start of the design. Imagine so that the strategy of reusing the space was about not modifying walls, but modifying the perception of space. So this is a selected sequence of students' proposal, warm eyes, axonometric views. All the schemes lead to different ideas of space or responding to the overall strategies that we said, I just say, was opening the building to the city and creating a permeable and flexible ground floor. So we limited the alteration to the historical material, except where the minimum revision of the walls and the material was justified as a critical action. So we proceeded by graft, by inheritors that underline the ancient form and also facilitate new uses and generate new perception of space. So students' works image kind of describe this condition. As you can see in the slide, the project that we are presenting tests the strategies and turn out to be an investigation on space. We think that a major outcome of our work is related to perception. The desired characteristic of a new space is not achieved by altering the historical form, but especially modifying perception. Modifying some colors, or especially adding light pieces. Indeed, the addition of small artifacts and pieces is capable of generating a new perception of the monument. Avoiding to introduce new forms. We believe that perception is a key element for reaching the goals of an adaptive reuse that is also effective to produce an integration with the city in a general philosophy of conservation of the original part. So in the end, we showed 2 episodes in silent conversation with each other. We believe that the focus of this presentation is showing the potential of typology as an agent of transformation and reuse in close relationship with the city. We explore this potential as a design strategies as applied to an ancient ruin. So now we hope and we think in our future challenge is to apply this kind of methodology to the modern ruin of Colonia Dux and to test the validity as a design instrument for adaptive use in a following design studio. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Ai, meu Deus, onde foi parar?
Very interesting.
Anna, are you okay?
Congratulations.
Just a minute. Good day for everyone. First of all, I thank the organization of the Docomomo conference for bringing this topic into discussion, especially my colleague, Cláudio Galeno. I would also like to take the opportunity to greet Horácio Torrente and Humberto, my colleagues in this section. I liked very much the presentations and the assistants. Well, the theme of hospital architecture accompanies modernity itself, as the idea of the hospital as a place of healing and not a deposit of beings that society rejects. The idea was born close to the French Revolution in 1772, following the fire of Hotel Thiers, and the subsequent discussion about the building that would replace wood-like. I brought a title for a subtitle for the presentation. I forgot to I think it's matches the presentation of our colleagues from Italy. In 2020, the COVID pandemic brought back to prominence this theme of architecture that Professor Segre called architecture in the shadow line. In the review he wrote for History of Health Collection, edited by Fiocruz, Renato Gama Rosa is here, is one of the organizers who will organize the collection. Segres concludes by stating that the aforementioned collection would have definitively removed hospital architecture from the shadows in Brazil. Although I have a lot to talk, and I thought was just 15 minutes, and I have been working in the so-called shadow line since 2000, trying to bring to light this architecture and its typologies. I thought it was 15 minutes, but then I saw it was 20, but well. Therefore, I chose to present an introduction to the topic and discuss two examples of Brazilian modern hospitals, which still fulfill their social function, despite the fact of their state of conservation. In this sense, they are still in full use value, as Alois Riegel taught us when he includes the use value among contemporary values. The start point of this introduction, as I have already mentioned, is the transformation of the hospital into what Foucault and others called healing machine. That is a hygienic place conducive to healing. Foucault talked about the causes of these changes, which were, among others, the war and the cost of training a soldier who would injury and died in the hospital because of poor hygienic conditions. But we can also talk about the development of capitalism and the workforce that requires a space dedicated to healing and even prevention. Thus, the modern hospital is established within the context of adaptation of Western society to new needs. Within the scope of the discussion, wide changes in the city space, the construction of health system, the production of an architecture type, all within a period of medium duration between 18th century and the beginning of 20th century. The last item of this change begins with the presentation by architects of a proposal carried out by this professional together with doctors for the replacement of hotelier. In 1773, the scientist Jean-Baptiste Leroy and the architect Charles-François Viel created the solution for the hospital, organizing pavilions along a central courtyard. This scheme remained until the 20th century and represented the first presence of the hospital theme in architecture manuals of the 19th century. It appears in the selection of ancient and modern buildings by Jean-Nicolas Louis Breton, which served at the basis for teaching architecture at the École Polytechnique in Paris and later in the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and which later spread throughout the Western world and served as the basis for the introduction of the architecture of hospital buildings built in the 19th century and early 20th century. In Brazil, this model remained and was added with other variants, such as the repeating pavilion located with the appropriate solar orientation for diseases treated in isolation, like leprosis, mental illness, and tuberculosis until 1940s. In sequence, we can see Santa Casa de Misericórdia, built from the 1840 to 1856. Pedro II, the second asylum, built between 1842 to 1852. Gaffrey Gilly Hospital, 1929. Curupaiti Leper Colony, 1922-1929. And Juliana Moreira College. I brought two settlements with different typology. The first was built to be built was Núcleo Rodrigues Caldas, 1919-1923, and the second in the left, we can see Nossa Senhora dos Remédios Pavilion, probably constructed in 1950s. However, technical and aesthetical changes in the field of architecture with the modernization of teaching at the School of Fine Arts in 1930 in Rio de Janeiro, as well as with state investments in the area of education and health since 1930, with the first government of Getúlio Vargas created a field for the work of architecture who were allied to modern concepts in the production of hospitals. At the end of Vargas' first government, the building of the Ministry of Education and Public Health was inaugurated, developed by a team of Brazilian architects led by Lúcio Costa, with the consultancy from Le Corbusier. This building is a model for the architectures of the so-called Carioca School, and for a new monumentality in cities to which the idea of architectural promenade and integration of the arts was brought. These ideas were expressed by Costa at the symposium in the search of a new monumentality promoted by Architectural Review in 1948. But the milestone in this field of participation by modern architects was the hospital plan course held by the Institute of Architects in 1953, in which architects such as Rino Leve, Jorge Machado Moreira, and Jarbas Karma participated. Rino Leve definitively, in his talk, puts a shovel in the ground of the assertion of existence of a single formal hospital typology, conditioning it to the program and the site among other issues. And he proclaimed the need for a multidisciplinary team coordinated by an architect to develop the design of hospitals. We see this since 1930, ideas of different typologies. In this context, we have examples of important projects in Rio de Janeiro when it was still the capital of Brazil, such as Curicica Sanatório, De Lagoa Hospital, the Instituto de Puericultura, e Souza Guiar Hospital. I chose two examples of hospitals studied by us at Lab Lugares, and I would like to thank the research team and the researchers like Thaisa Malaquias, Miguel Moroco, Gabriele Silva, and Letícia Pessoa. That maintain those examples maintain the use of healthcare. This choice was not easy, even though in our country it's common to maintain the use of a hospital. This implied changes and often losses of their original characteristics. However, the two hospitals can be considered examples of the idea of the Carioca School at different times. The first, the Curicica Sanatorium was located in an area far from the urban center of the city of Rio de Janeiro, and with rural characteristics at the time of its construction, along with other hospitals for diseases treated in isolation. We can see in this map, in a cross, the location of other hospitals, and in the bottom, bottom is Curicica Sanatorium. Curicica Sanatorium was inaugurated in 1942, and it was designed by the architect Sérgio Bernardi as a model that could be replicated in other locations. However, only one other was built, the Sanatório de Sancho, in Pernambuco. The pavilion type project combined design rationality with the construction process in a concrete structure cast in place. For this end, the architect chose a grid of 1.20 by 1.20 meters, which organized not only the construct project process, but the implementation of the building on the land, the division into pavilions and courtyards, as well as the design of the facade and internal space. There were many changes over time, especially in the hospital area of the sanatorium. The research area is better preserved and is federal and owned by Fiocruz, while the hospital area was municipalized and some pavilions were demolished and the area was used to construct other buildings for public service, which do not match hospital that treats tuberculosis. You can see the construction in this picture of school is not a very good use for the site who treats tuberculosis. But the main issue, which even have an impact on the decisions for this construction, was the intense urbanization of the sanatorium surroundings, with low-income housing and community we call it favelas. We can see in the image that these communities have already advanced beyond the limits of the sanatorium lands. Another problem was the construction of the BRT rapid bus transport on an elevated road, which has a visual environmental impact on the sanatorium area. The visual impact is clear, as the horizontal and low-rise construction contrast with the verticality of the viaduct. The environmental impact refers to rainwater drainage, as the hospital land is now at a level lower than the BRT road. The second case. Built in 1906 by architect Ari Garcia Rosa to be a set of hospital buildings, the Hospital Municipal Souza Aguiar, HMSA, is located in a historical area in the center of the city of Rio de Janeiro, classified as heritage and with important historical monuments. Furthermore, both it's surrounded both in its surrounding and on the HMSA grounds, other healthcare buildings were located. You can see there the other buildings. Despite having design with a T-shaped tower typology on a rectangular basis that follows a grid of 1.20 to 1.20 meters, it's not as evident as is in Curicica. But its main characteristic, and that's why it is preserved as a monument, is the existence of works of art as a mural and a vertical garden by the artist and landscaper Roberto Boulemax, which forms an architectural promenade, together with a chapel designed by Garcia Rosa, which includes remnants of the old constructed hospital that existed there. It's the condition of the late vertical garden by Boulemax, the old building and the new building in construction. This vertical garden was built in the remains of the old building. The chapel and the mural by Boulemax. HMSCA is considered one of the largest emergency hospitals in Latin America. Receives patients daily, not only from the city of Rio de Janeiro, but also from other cities in the state of Rio de Janeiro. There is a map. We are making maps to see where are the patients who comes to this hospital. And this is a map made for Leticia for the year 2022. But also, furthermore, it is a hospital complex and houses the center that directs healthcare services in the city. However, the conditions of open space, such as sidewalks, patios, reception, and sitting areas, leave something to be desired. The yards are occupied by cars, the sidewalks are poor conditions and are small in size, and there are no outdoor seating areas. In addition, they are not connected with the historic surroundings and its monuments. Just to see, we have a beautiful garden in front and a lot of monuments. But even with the problems reported in a country that no longer treats its public buildings with the care that modern architects did, we have a lot to learn from these projects. Not only the rationality of the project, but the conception of the relationship between interior and exterior, sunlight and ventilation, the integration of art in architecture, which is correct, the ventilation now, for instance, is relegated in the new projects to air-conditioned machine. And you have to learn about this. And even we can learn formal aspects of the typologies. Finally, let us follow the example of our colleagues in Italy and Herzog and de Meuron, who teach us that they learn from the history lessons when they developed the design of Zurich Children's Hospital. I brought just a picture because I thought I had just 15 minutes. This is the Herzog and Meuron Children's Hospital, in which they were, the design was inspired by Duran Plan, but transformed it into something contemporary and just added Louis Kahn's idea of served spaces and server spaces. In the periphery of the building are the location of the rooms for the patients. To this end, I hope we can discuss the subject further and take these ideas to public and political managers, as the healing machine can also be a machine for well-being and sociability as a common good for everyone in the city. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana. Thank you, Marco, Claudio, Logan, and I don't remember your name, sorry.
Francesco.
Francesco, thank you. I have only the names here. So we can start some questions or comments. Every time I'm provoking the comments or questions in between. I know you know each other very well, so you can start with some question or comments. Yes, Ana, go ahead.
It was very interesting. The site of the hospital in Chile, and I want to know more about this. You know, there is a garden, a park, and a garden in front of the building, and the patios. Also, you can see that is the presence of the patio as a place for ventilation and insulation, and also for the well-being of the people who works and the patients of the hospitals. And for it was very interesting also the colleagues from Caligari about the Città Ospitali. Me encantou. I like it very much, this. And you can see that it's a different approach of the plan, the typology of Durand. Yes, and it's different, but it's almost an interpretation of the discussion, neoclassical discussion during the drawing of alternative to Hotel Dieu. It is this. And another question for Logan. There is a grid that put together the structural model.
Sorry, can you repeat it, the question, please?
It's a grid, for put on the structural.
Oh, well, yeah, but
a parcel, a very little parcel that organized the design of the hospital.
Yeah, it exists that grid, but it's not. Can you hear me here now?
Yeah.
Okay. That grid exists. It is not really. You can see it really when you are inside the hospital. It's difficult to see if you're not looking from the structural plans or many other information that is not the principle or may sometimes maybe our object of study that is their architecture. So that's why we presented the only publication, the Arquitectura y Ciudad, the magazine in Chile, that don't show us that. So, and we thought that it was very important to focus on that one decision, that one pillar, one distance, and one being to make all these possibilities. That is not well. Actually, Nan Albert, the main architect about the society of hospital spaces in Chile, he do not really focus in political solution more than in to articulate how to say it.
I'm just asking this because here it's including in manuals of hospital architecture, we have 1.20 by 1.20 grid, see? And we could see this, had designed the hospitals. Okay.
Yeah.
And when we look to the plans, we can see those structure plan. We can see that there is some grid there.
Yeah. I don't know, really, Claudio, more about that?
No, I don't. I didn't measure the grid, but it's a grid that repeats in horizontal and vertical too.
Yeah, I think
it's a still grid.
I think they are 6 meters, I guess. Because
yes, but we have a little. Also,
I understand the little units that you repeat in all this structure. I don't know exactly because
I think it's 6 meters. 6 meters is the
that's
only
the
measure.
big one.
The structural grid is 6 meters.
Yes,
but Anna was talking about the design grid.
Oh no, there is no one actually. There is completely separated about what the structure proposed.
Yeah, when can I add something? Is very both the theme of the grid is very important because one thing that I guess we didn't say was that the hospital doesn't exist, was demolished.
Yes.
And now another one is in the same place. But the interesting, the emphasis that we did about the earthquakes was that the grid that they use, structural grid that they use, wasn't a good idea because all the rest of the panels of the walls was when the earthquake moved the structures, all was ¿cómo decirlo? Se soltaban, was fall.
Yeah, we have from one way we have the structure, and the other way we have the substructure, or maybe the what's the word? Sorry, gas, water, fire,
installation
system. And the installation system, it wasn't in the structure, it was in the another substructure, like panels, like shaft and other ones. So this building and this family of building was flexible enough to resist a earthquake in Chile. But this flexible, it was too much and broken all the other systems. All the walls that wasn't structural, it wasn't destroyed, and inside of them it was the all the water system, all the fire gas, clinical gases, and another one was many costs to repair that. So it had many subsystems that work really short time.
Claudio, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Horacio. I have a question to Marco and Francesco about the Colonia Dux. There are some public discussions about the presence of that ring in the beach, about the future of that structure, Can you tell us something about that, please?
Yeah, so of course the location of the building is kind of interesting for now touristic uses. So there was a first project of adaptive reuse in the beginning of 2000, like 2006. The first idea was to keep the functions of, like, adapt the hospital function to a new idea, a new structure. But there was a kind of conflict with urban planning. So the uses in that part of the city changed. So this original function wasn't didn't fit the urban planning. So they changed the idea towards the touristic function, and now there is an open, a great discussion about how to design a proper adaptive reuse related to this touristic function, because as you can imagine, this place is very attractive for private and every kind of speculation. So yeah, there is a great discussion at the moment. Yeah.
But how is the concrete structure? It's very close to the sea.
Yes, yeah.
Is it okay?
Nope,
No,
nobody knows exactly.
Nobody knows.
It seems in good shape, but actually it's closed and nobody knows because there haven't been specific studies recently. I would also add to a short thought about this thing that there is a lot of discussion going on these big important public buildings that have lost their original use. We have this. We have made many mistakes in the past, no? Especially on heritage. So there is a lot of fear about institutions to do another mistakes. But this is going to lead us to a kind of a paralysis because we do not choose, and these buildings are ruining the modern one, but also the neoclassical one you have seen. So there is a lack, I think, of thought also. There is a lot of discussion, but the discussion is not supported exactly by specific studies, and is a lot of public discussion, but the architects are not very much involved, I would say, at the moment. No?
Yeah.
So this is one thing that is characterizing now the reuse, adaptive reuse of, I would say, old but also modern heritage in Italy, absolutely, especially in the southern part. And this is something that we are facing at the moment.
Yeah. I think that a way that we are kind of exploring to push this discussion is to make explicit the urban role of these pieces of architecture. So they are really integrated in the urban, in the progetto urbano of the city. So we hope this can be an element, a point of entry to rethink adaptive reuse. So not just function, not just recreative building or a touristic building. So yeah.
Thank you, Anna, for your appreciations about this.
I like it very much.
Thank you.
About
the
the
idea of
typology.
I have
the special.
Horacio.
Sorry, I have a question for, I had a question for Francesco and Marco, but it was the same that Anna did. So I'm asking to Claudio and Logan if they recognize a typological shift, it's using the same term, in between the old, well, it's not old, but the first program of hospitals in Chile, where the general service was in the ground floor, and then changed. It's pretty clear that the Coquimbo Hospital mixed this what can I say, the medical care attendants in the first place, the tower of hospitalization in the middle, and the general service behind. And it's not the same way in different hospitals around the country. I'm asking you if you identify when this happened and why, mostly, in terms of functioning, because in terms of a structural shift is quite different, because this case was without what can I say, structural bracing. Is it was only columns, and the structural bracing was probably in the bins or in somewhere, but not in walls. That is so.
Well, Logan is yes, this hospital represent like the final point of a sequence of the evolution of the hospital institutions in Chile. The typology that is a variant, how you say, Horacio, is a mix like a plate and tower, but not exactly, because they put together the tower with the health center, and the tower connected to this more specialized services, like, for example, surgery that is in the floor, that is not in the tower, that was the usual before. And for this reason, they invented something that I guess was not a very good idea. That was a mechanical floor between the tower and the base. There are a floor that was empty, was only with mechanical things, and was a strange solution. The wife of the architect Hernan Aubert, that is I don't remember the name of the wife. Huh?
Elizabeth Cook.
Yeah. Yes, told in a recently interview that they were changing the model of the hospitals, and that model is similar to another ones like Ochagavía Hospital,
and San Antonio.
And San Antonio, and I guess that the Copiapó Hospital too. Yes. They was experimenting, was testing new variation of the typology, and I guess that they were very influenced by the discussion about math buildings or mega structures. And Logan used the image of the Hospital de Venecia of Le Corbusier, for example, and they was mixing the functional needs with the experimental typological things of the architecture of this time. This is my my ideas about my
Hypothesis.
hypothesis. Logan, you want to add something?
No, I am completely agree with you. It was a mix about many things. I already named some ones like politicals ideas that push this kind of idea that they have free will to make everything they want. They say, the president say, do whatever you want. We need something different, something to change the things. And I think it's in completely in the same line that conclusion of Claudia. It was very experimental.
The mechanical floor was in most of the hospitals built in Argentina in between 60 and 70, and the Pediatric National Hospital has one, and in the case of Ochagavía was not too high. It was only 2 meters, and I don't remember, 2 meters and 30. I used to work in a reuse design for the whole complex, so I'm pretty related with the mechanical floor, because it was also not only a mechanical space, it was not very good related by the communications with the other parts of the building. That was because it was only with 2 or 3 entrance to the mechanical floor, when the other floors were completely related in between. So it was quite difficult at that time. Oh.
But you told here, I don't know who told here about this surgery. Here it is not in the base. It's upstairs.
At the top.
Yes, the top.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, here too.
Here too?
Yeah.
No, surgery is in the here is strange. It's in the base, and for this reason, the mechanical floor is in the second floor. So the base is the first floor, and over the ceiling of the surgery area is where is all the mechanical things are. Where?
Okay.
It's a strange solution.
Yeah. But, Levy tells that each case is a case. There are models, but we have to think about it.
Yeah. So, Andres?
So, I made a provocation
your microphone.
at the
Sorry,
end
I think Andres is
about the history.
has a question.
No,
For all of us.
I was thinking about the Venice hospital, in fact, but yes, I arrived a little late because the modulation and the grid, the structural grid and the functional grid, and let's say the dialogue between both of them is quite difficult, but they are very intimate in the case of hospital design. Le Corbusier has demonstrated it, but in many other buildings dedicated to health and things like that, because their functionality has to be, quite flexible, but yet very specifically designed for the surgery areas, the emergency rooms, the resting rooms, and all that stuff. That's it. That was what I was about to say. Especially in the case of the Coquimbo Hospital, of course, because the Italian cases are really another logical structural plan. Let's say the circle ones, the curved ones. They respond to probably other logical designs, other logical themes.
So here we are.
I'm I made a provocation about the history and what to do with those places that the city is growing around them with new problems, and also about how to make new hospitals. Is why I brought Herzog de Meuron. And so it's just to think about it. Okay.
But when you show the plans of Herzog and de Meuron, I immediately saw the plan of the traumatological in Rio from the
Lele.
from Lele. It's
No.
the same.
No, it's
not the same idea.
No,
But
no.
it's without.
It's a different idea. It's like he took the plan of Duran, of the road in a corridor, and mixed it with the idea of served space and server space from Kant. He made something wonderful. Inside there are patios, this road, and all the functions, and they are in the outside, and different materials too. The inside is more heavy, and the outside is very made of wood, and for children, the habitaciones of the children, the patients. Rooms. It's wonderful. It's under construction yet, but it's wonderful. And we see we can learn how we can learn about the question of head quakers, and how you can learn about create spaces for well-being in the hospital, not just to go there and make surgeries and be sick there, but to integrate with the city. Things that I think we need to think, to know, to romper, to break the cluster, because we have big clusters in the city.
Yeah, I know. This is exactly what we think, and what is about the idea that we were talking about, how to break the envelope and how to integrate with the city, making not just a place where you go when you are sick, but even when you have to hear, well-being, and it means a lot of things, prevention, but also how to learn how to eat, how to be wealthy in a larger way. And this is something that we have to do for the future, because if we don't do this, we will have a lot of people that will get sick a lot, and so it's going to be a cost for the system. So it's important for the city, but it's important also for the healthcare system. And I also want to thank you about the Herzog de Meuron example that you show us, because
it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's well. Unfortunately, I don't know if you agree with me. The problem of a healthcare architecture is that there is not anymore healthcare architecture, because the architects have been ejected from the design process, because it's a lot about engineering, is a lot about technical solution, and architects. After, I think, Le Corbusier, except some specific cases like this one you show us, have been ejected, and they are not anymore important in the process of design healthcare architecture. I'm pretty sure about this, because I have been, following and participating to conferences, not specific of architects, but of healthcare architecture, and the design I've seen mostly all over the world, they were all about finding solutions, technical, but there is not any more thoughts, very low thoughts about space and well-being. it's not just the thing, a matter of shape, but about space. There is a low care at the moment. I think this is my
Yes,
my opinion
you
what
are
I've seen.
correct. Here too, we have a field very technical,
Yeah,
specialized. There are architects too, but doesn't bring those doesn't learn from history, doesn't learn
Absolutely.
from examples.
absolutely.
So if I can jump just to conclude, I think that there is a parallel story, parallel to the typology, which is the story of the architects. So the profile of the architects that during this period were trying to promote their ambitions in terms of architectural and urban issues. So not just functional. So I think it's interesting to map or to kind of discover the profile, like the archetypal profile of the architect in this period. It was maybe in between the genius and the bureaucracy. I mean, of course, because there is a bureaucracy in the construction of a building like this, but yeah.
But not all the architects of Carioca school were genius. They follow a good recipe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, now we don't have a good recipe. We don't follow function, just function.
Yeah.
There are other things.
Yes, exactly.
So we must analyze these two hospital just built in Chile, the La Florida and Maipú hospitals designed by Cristóbal Tirado. It's
Very
a
good
opportunity to analyze the new trends in hospital architecture or medical architecture, I think.
Yes, very nice.
Where are they? It's in Santiago?
In Santiago, yes, in the suburban area of Santiago, both in very intense developing areas of the city. Yes.
A good project.
Yes, you can see it. I think are both published.
Yes.
Well, they are very complex and mixed teams of architects.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
I think we are ready here. Any more questions? Any more comments? Thank you so much, Francesco and Marco, Claudio and Logan, and of course Anna. Thank you for being part of these pre-events of our 18th International Docomomo Conference. As you probably know, we just closed our call for sessions with a tremendous, exciting proposals, around 70 proposals at this moment. So we must do a very hard work to reduce some proposals or to take some decisions on that. Thank you so much. I hope all of you can join us every Tuesday at 11 in Chile for new conferences. We have the next conference will be protagonized by Andrés Telles and Jania Gomez. Andrés from Chile and Jania from Caracas, Venezuela. So thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you,
everybody. Thank you, Horacio.
Francesco,
Thank
Marco,
you very
Ana.
much. Thank you very much, Horacio.
Thank you.
Just it will be recorded. This recorded.
Yes, it's recorded and placed it on the
YouTube
page
channel.
of the
Congress page.
Centro de Patrimonio of the Catholic University, and also they are linked to our webpage.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
See you soon. Bye.
See you. Thank you very much.